What's up you guys, Mo Awesome from Awesome MTB and welcome to the Awesome MTB Trail Bike Buyer's Guide. Evil might have one of the best suspension designs out there. This thing is insane. Oh my God. What's up you guys, Mo Awesome from Awesome MTB and welcome back to our Trail Bike Buyer's Guide. Over the last few months, we've been testing out 11 of the best trail bikes on the market. Now these are gonna be 29ers with 140 to 150 millimeters of travel. And even though there's 11 bikes in this test, we can honestly say that each one of these bikes has a completely different personality and is gonna be meant for a different rider out there. So throughout this series, we're gonna be breaking down each one of these bikes to let you guys know who each is for. And in today's video, we are gonna be breaking down the Evil offering. Now, if you guys watched our XC Buyer's Guide, Evil had the following in that one. The Evil offering is gonna be its bigger brother, a little bit more travel, 141 millimeters to be specific in the rear, with 150 millimeters of travel up front. And we have the tried and true Delta suspension design. I have to say, this is gonna be one of those bikes that probably has my favorite suspension design on the market. This thing was absolutely insane on the trails, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later on, but for now, let's talk about the build. So Evil submitted their GX build kit, and this is actually coming in at a pretty awesome price point. Up front, we have a RockShox Lyric Ultimate with the buttercups, and in the rear, we have a RockShox Super Deluxe rear shock. We have an old school mechanical GX 12-speed drivetrain on there. We have a bike yoke dropper post, and we have SRAM Code RSC brakes. We have race face alloy handlebars, and we have Evil's own grips. We have our personal favorite Crank Brothers Stamp 7 pedals in a size large. For wheels, we have an Industry 9 alloy wheel sets with their 1-to-1 hub, and for tires, we have a Minion DHF up front, and we have a Maxxis Minion DHR2 in the rear. Now in terms of adjustability, we do have a low and a X-low setting, and you do that by flipping two links. Me personally, I had the bike in the X-low setting for a majority of the test, and this thing in the X-low setting is absolutely insane. Now for weight, it's actually coming in under 34 pounds, about 33.7 with pedals. And the frame itself is actually an extra large. I'm 6'2" for reference, and this thing fit me perfectly. But before we go into things further, let's actually go take you guys out on the trails to show you guys how this thing rides. All right, so we have another riding review. Today, we have the Evil offering. This is the steep and chunky portion of the test. I do have the Evil offering in the extra low mode for a nice and rowdy time out on the trails. God, man, the Delta suspension feels so freaking good. I also have a little bit of PTSD from a rattlesnake encounter the other day, but we're marching forward through the slow speed chunk, and the Evil offering definitely holds its own through it, even though it probably has some of the shortest chainstays out of this test. Oh my God, so much fun. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say slow speed chunk is its forte. It is definitely a cornering, ripping machine. So this, I would say, a little outside of the traditional offering elements. As you guys know, I just like that one section to show you guys slow speed chunk. The offering handles slow speed chunk very well. Even though, like I said, I wouldn't say it's necessarily its forte. I definitely think the forte of this bike is gonna be fast, ripping trails. And you guys will see that in a little bit, but we gotta make our way back up it. It's a Dave Weigel invention, this suspension design platform, and it's still gonna pedal really well. A bit of technical climbing. Now in the extra low setting, man, that bottom bracket is low. I will say, I do find myself trying to just kind of keep my cranks just aware so I don't get too many pedal strikes. But like I said, you guys, the Evil offering holds its own on climbs. And now we're on a high-speed trail. The Evil offering on these high-speed trails just possesses a level of insanity I don't even think I ever thought I had. Oh my God. It literally feels like a magic suspension design. We're through the rock section. And yes, in terms of high speed stability, The bike itself is a little on the shorter side, but the suspension literally just soaks up everything. Dave Weigel and the Evil Bikes crew might have made one of the best feeling suspension designs on downhills. It has this insane combination of suppleness mixed with this crazy acceleration out of corners. And I felt it on the following. However, the following had a much more XC build. Well, I'm gonna try and get up this really quick. You see, guys, it still climbs insanely well. In and out of these corners, oh my God. Whoa. Like I said, it has this crazy acceleration out of corners that I felt at first on the following, and on this offering that has a much more aggressive build, I can actually put it to work with some beefier tires. The tech right here. Now this is a test where I don't pedal at all. I just use the trail to pump. I'm going so fast. One of the bikes that generates speed out of absolutely nowhere. I would say similar to the Yeti SB140. Now the SB140 has switch infinity. This is just, and at the end of the day, a single pivot, but with the Dave Weigel magical touch, truly mind-blowing. God, it's so gnarly, this bottom section. Made it to our downhill. This is a trail called Car Wreck. Very steep and technical. I've been testing, like I said, so many bikes over the last few weeks. I would say even maybe a couple of months at this point. And this fall offering, once again, you guys, might just be the funnest bike I've ever ridden in general. That is a very bold statement. I've ridden so many bikes, but this bike has such an insane suspension personality. And once again, you guys, I have to give a huge credit to the guys at Evil. What is gonna happen when I try out that Reckoning? I'm actually kind of concerned of how fast that Reckoning is gonna come in and out of corners. This is where I'm gonna try and focus a little bit so I can keep my teeth. The infamous Car Wreck rock garden. Pick our way down this. We're gonna go up here and right down there. Oh yes, this is nothing on the offering. This bike does so well in terms of precision and picking your line. But I do think where it wants to be is in the freaking corners, roots. I feel like the suspension design is gonna play a huge factor into this bike's overall personality. So hopefully you guys enjoyed some of that riding footage on the Evil offering. All right, so let's talk about some stuff that I love about the Evil offering and some stuff that I don't necessarily like. The first thing that I love, and I think it's very apparent by the riding footage, is how the suspension feels. I really do think that Evil has one of the best suspension designs on the market. It feels magically smooth. The amount of trail that the rear end of this bike soaks up is absolutely insane, and the way it goes about it soaks up the trail, but at the same time it generates speed while doing so. I constantly felt like I was checking the rear end of the bike saying like, what is going on here? It kind of feels like there's a coil shock on here, but it's just a standard air shock, and I really do think it is that Delta suspension design. Now, another thing that I love about that Evil offering that I think is gonna complement that suspension is gonna be how this bike does in and out of corners. Evil bikes are probably some of the best cornering bikes. Once again, not only do they have that kind of rocket feel in and out of corners from the Delta suspension line, but also has a very short rear end, so short chainstays, so you get a bike that you can really whip it around out on the trails, and it has a very playful feel. This is also probably gonna be one of the most playful bikes in this test, and you definitely felt like you can put this bike exactly where you want it and really kick it out in and out of corners. So yeah, I really did love how this bike cornered, and also that playful feeling from the rear end of this bike. This is also going to be one of the stiffest frames out of this test. You could definitely tell the stiffness is there, and never once did I feel any flex in the frame. And once again, that's going to be very important, especially when you're playing around on the trail, you're boosting into technical sections. This frame feels so solid and precise, and you can put it exactly where you want it. Yeah, I very much appreciated the stiffness of the frame. Once again, I did have this thing in the X-Low, and unlike some other bikes in this test, it definitely has a little bit more of a conservative head angle. It's right around 65.5 degrees. I'll put the geo chart on the screen right here. The head angle is not as slack as some other bikes in this category. With that being said, what that translates to out on the trails is a lot of precision as well as nimbleness from the front end of the bike. And the bike is plenty capable on the downs. Like I said, that suspension line is super plush, the frame is super stiff, but at the same time too, not going too slack on that head angles gives you a little bit more of a precise feel line choice wise, as well as playfulness out on the trails. Now, some things I didn't necessarily love about the Evil offering. I do think the flip chips are going from low to X-Low, or the links when you're flipping them. I do think that flipping the links from low to X-Low, I just found myself staying in X-Low. I feel like X-Low is modern trail bike geometry. I do feel like the low setting might be slightly outdated for the times. If I was gonna have the ability to change to Geo, I would like X-Low to be the standard and maybe an extra low, because there are times where having a little bit of a slacker head angle would be nice, and also a slightly steeper seat angle. Once again, this is the X-Low setting, so it did slacken the seat angle slightly, and I'm someone with a really high saddle height, so it's a little bit more apparent to me, but I did feel like the seat angle could be a little bit steeper. Once again, the seat angle isn't a deal breaker on this setting, but it is something to note, especially if you have a very high saddle height. Now, talking about the actual build and things that I loved and didn't love about that, I actually think this is an amazing bang for buck build in this test. I think for the price point, you are getting a lot of bike, a very good suspension design, amazing suspension, and a really solid wheel set. I feel like Evil really did check all of the boxes. I love that rear shock, the Super Deluxe paired with the Evil Delta system. I really did like that mechanical GX drivetrain on there. Honestly, I think I even like it better than GX transmission, as crazy as that sounds. I love that bike yoke dropper pose. I probably would put some Maven brakes on here. Also love Evil's stock grips. I think Evil has one of the best stock grips on the market. So to summarize things about the Evil offering, I think the Evil offering is probably gonna be one of the most playful bikes in this test. It's a rocket ship in and out of corners. That Delta suspension feels insane, and it's also a very stiff frame. However, if you're someone out there that might not necessarily be looking for the stiffest frame out there, or maybe you want something with a little bit more high-speed stability, because once again, the rear end of this bike is a little on the shorter side, and you don't necessarily have as slack as a front head angle, you might want to consider some other bikes in this test. However, if you want playful, poppy, but at the same time capable, I think the Evil offering is going to be a solid option in this test. Now, how did it do in comparison to the other bike? You guys are going to have to stay tuned for the conclusion of this video. Now, if we didn't answer any of your guys' questions about the Evil offering, let us know in the comment section. We're happy to help. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up and not miss out any video from this series. And until next time, you guys, ride awesome. You.